Our next tactic is called the Zwichenzug, which is a German word for in-between move. What is an in-between move exactly? Well, an in-between move is what happens when you play some move in between a four sequence. For example, if you capture me, I don't have to capture your piece back immediately. I can perhaps play a check in between that capturing sequence, and that would be considered an in-between move. I think it's better to go and illustrate this in an example, so let's go without further ado to the first problem. The first problem here, you guys will be playing as white, and black plays rook takes h4. Black probably wanted to trade material. He's up material here. He's up in exchange, and 2 pawns. So he probably thought this was a good trade. And after the queen takes the rook, black can probably play queen to c7, protecting his rook, and it looks like he'll have a dominant position. However, he did not account for white's resource here. Now, white does not have to take the rook immediately, and instead, white can choose to play something before he takes the rook. That move is queen to d8. Queen to d8 is a check, is an in-between move check, where his king comes to h7, and then we take on h4. Check. This is now a fork, and after the king moves back to g8, we win the rook, and now it's white who is actually doing better because white has a bishop for 2 pawns. It's important in this situation because after rook takes h4, queen takes h4 here, we're only attacking the rook. We are not winning the rook. We're not giving check here. But by playing queen to d8, in between taking the rook, after king h7, we make his king go on h7, and queen takes h4 is now a fork, which wins the rook for white. We have another position here, where we'll also be playing as white. In this case, white took on a7, and black needs to play an in-between move here. Black played rook takes d1, because if you take the bishop back immediately, then black loses the rook on d5. Rook takes d5. Black took the rook on d1, expecting that white would take back on d1, and black can take back on a7 now. His in-between move worked, and he's still up 2 pawns. The problem is, white doesn't need to go as planned. White can play yet another in-between move. This is the reply to black's in-between move. White can play an in-between move and save his bishop. Do you see it? White can play bishop to c5 check. And black is forced to solve his problem with his king first before anything happens with the rook on d1. Black can play, for example, king to g8, but then white can take on d1, and now white is up a bishop for 2 pawns. This is actually a really good puzzle because it shows not one, but two in-between moves. White takes the bishop on a7, and black needs to solve this rook before taking the bishop on a7. So black takes on d1, thinking that white will recapture. But then white needs to solve this problem before he solves the problem with recapturing the rook on d1 too. White plays bishop c5 check, which is another in-between move, and now which gets the bishop out of attack too. And now after king g8, we take the rook, and white is winning. Now we're going to go to the worksheet. This is number 1 on the worksheet. It's white to move here, and the question is if you can take on e5 directly. Taking on e5 directly would be a mistake, because black can simply trade queens and win your bishop. Therefore, white should find a better move here to win the knight for free. The better move here is to play bishop to b4, attacking the queen and getting the bishop out of attack. Bishop to b4 is Zwichenzug, because after bishop b4, black needs to solve his queen, and white solves his bishop's problem before taking the knight. Black would probably play something like queen to f6, but then white will take the knight on e5. If black tries a Zwichenzug on knight to f3 check, he can get an extra pawn, but still, white's going to be up a piece here, which is winning. We'll now move on to number 6 in the worksheet. For this problem, we already know that white wants to take on c4, but the problem is then black will take on e1, and material remains equal. This endgame actually looks quite drawish. Doesn't look like either side has much advantage here. But there's a better opportunity for white here. White wants to somehow use an in-between move to get his knight out of attack. The problem is the knight can't really counterattack any piece right now. The knight goes to c2, doesn't do anything. The knight goes to f3. Either way, the black knight can move away to probably d6. White needs to play first the in-between move, b4. The point of b4 is to attack the bishop. If the bishop moves away, let's say to c7, then it's no longer attacking the knight on e1, so we can just take the pawn or the knight on c4. But if the bishop does take our pawn on c4 or on b4, then our knight can come to c2 as an in-between move and attack the bishop on b4. The bishop will move away, and after the bishop moves away, then we can finally take the knight on c4. Now this puzzle actually uses, once again, not one, but two in-between moves. First, we play this before we take the knight, b4, to draw his bishop to b4. Then, we play knight to c2, and attack the bishop on b4 as another in-between move, which gets our knight out of attack. Once our knight's out of attack, we are free to take the knight on c4 for free. This just shows that players should not automatically recapture after every exchange, and they should always consider something, perhaps an in-between move, like a check, or a counterattack, that will help them improve their position into a more favorable one.